السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، ومساء الخير لجميع مشاهدين قناة كنار تي في. رجعنا من جديد في برنامج منتدى الشباب بعد غياب فترة، وإن شاء الله رح نرجع بشكل أقوى وبأفكار وآراء جديدة إن شاء الله. قبل ما نحكي عن موضوع حلقتنا لليوم، حابين نسأل المشاهدين وأي حدا بيشاهد قناة كنار تي في إنه يعطينا آراء ويقترح علينا أفكار للبرنامج. رح نكون أكثر من سعداء لأنه نسمع لهي الآراء ولهي التعليق ونستفيد منها كلياتنا بشكل عام. حلقتنا اليوم بترجعنا بالزمن 4 سنين لورا، 4 سنين للحادثة اللي صارت معانا، اللي صارت مع المسلمين في المسجد بمدينة كبك. هنحكي عن الاسلاموفوبيا من مختلف الأديان ومن مختلف الجنسيات، ونظرة الشباب في شكل عام للاسلاموفوبيا. ورح يكون معنا اليوم ضيف مميز بالحلقة. طبعا أنا بشكره جدا على الوقت اللي هو أعطانا إياه. هو من أصل كندي، وإن شاء الله حيحكي معنا وحيتحاور معنا عن موضوع الاسلاموفوبيا بنظرته هو، وعن موضوع العنصرية بشكل عام. طبعا أنا نسيت أعرف عن حالي، معلش رح أعرف عن حالي حاليا. أنا اسمي علا زين العابدين، من دمشق سوريا. حاليا عايشة في كندا، مقيمة في كندا ألبرتا. عم أدرس في الجامعة psychology degree في ريد دير كوليدج. خلونا، ورح يكون معنا بهاء وحسنة بالحلقة. رح نتحاور مع بعض ونناقش موضوع الإسلاموفوبيا.
أهلا فيك يا علا.
أهلا فيك، الله يسعدك.
أنا بهاء، متابعين من زمان كنت موجود. أنا حاليا بدرس في جامعة أوتوا، بدرس علوم صيدلية.
وأنا حسناء، عمري 21 وحاليا سوري، أنا اسمي حسناء وعمري 21 من سوريا، وحاليا عم أشتغل وعايشة بريد الألبرتا.
أوكي. علا، احكي لنا شوية هسه عن الضيف تاعك. كيف تعرفتي عليه عشان نعرف الباك جراوند تاعه هو؟
الضيف هو بيشتغل معي، أنا وياه بنشتغل بنفس الكومباني. اتعرفت عليه من فترة 4 شهور تقريبا. حسيت انه عنده يعني كشاب كندي عنده نظرة مختلفة تماما عن الباقيين اللي بيشتغلوا معي بنفس المجال. فهو شخص بيحب يتعرف على باقي الثقافات، بيحب يشوف هي شو وليش انت عامله هيك. مثلا حتى إلي كان يسالني انه شو سبب الحجاب، شو هذا الحجاب، شو الاسلام. فانا انا من اسئلته، من هو كشخص، حسيت انه في عنده شيء يشاركه معنا. وهو عن جد شخص اوت جوينج، كثير بحب يتفاعل مع الناس اللي حواليه من مختلف الجنسيات، من مختلف الثقافات. فإن شاء الله هو بعمر الشباب، عمره 20 سنة، راح يكون معنا اليوم ويحكي لنا عن نظرته وفكرته للإسلاموفوبيا والعنصرية بشكل عام.
أوكي، هسه حدخله معنا.
أو نحن حنكون عم نحكي بالإنجليش because of Logan. Hello Logan and welcome. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem, anytime.
I will let you to introduce yourself.
My name is Logan Kenzie. I live in Red Deer, Alberta. I've lived here my entire life, born and raised. And yeah, ready to get the show started.
We are so excited to have you.
Thank you very much.
So talking about, that we're going to be talking about Islamophobia. I would love to start with you talking about what does racism means to you? And what do you think about people who linking racism to the race, religion, or maybe color?
Well, my personal opinion is that race is all based on a person's certain opinion. And to me, I think it's really just the way people were raised and what they learned growing up. Because if, let's say, you went to high school or one kid went to high school and he passed every grade and he graduated high school and he knows everything that he learned in high school. And if someone didn't go to high school, they don't know like curriculum and whatever they learned in high school. And I think that's the same way with racism. I mean, if your parents are going to teach you to not to treat a certain group of people or a certain person of a different skin color, if you're not going to treat them the same way and you're going to treat them in a negative way, then you're going to carry that throughout your entire life. And at least for the first like 14 years of your life as a child, because it's all you kind of know is what your parents tell you. And with that, it's just people have to, I don't know, break the stigma of following an intergenerational loop of racism. Like it's not like one day some guy just woke up and said, "Oh, I'm everyone doesn't like a certain group of people now just because their skin color." It's been a constantly growing thing, and it's a generational thing. So it keeps going. Like some person doesn't like a group of people, they have kids, they're going to teach their kids the same way. And I personally think it starts with raising your children and raising the youth properly instead of with these negative connotations towards other races and other groups of people.
So you're saying it's like when you get to that age, maybe 18 or over, you have to search for your own. You have to educate yourself. You have to go for it and do research and do your own beliefs after
Exactly.
that age. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like the parents need to educate themselves to get a better generation, so we can all live in a better world.
And I guess what I was trying to say is if they don't change at that age and they don't learn, then it's gonna just keep going, because once people get older, their mind states kind of stay the same. After your brain stops growing, it's harder to take in new information. Like there's a saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because they don't get it. And it's the same thing for humans. We've got to teach ourselves sooner than later that for better things, for more positive things.
Well, Logan, I just had a question about that. Do you think that we should include religion in this idea of things we shouldn't discriminate against? Because the whole point of anti-discrimination laws, the way they're written, is that you can't discriminate against someone for something they haven't chosen.
Exactly.
Do you think that applies to religion? Do you think people can, to some extent, choose their beliefs or what they don't believe?
Coming from someone who isn't the most religious person, I believe so. I believe people can choose what they want to believe in at a certain point in their life, and it kind of goes it's the same to what I just said. It's like for me, I grew up in a more Christian household, and I was kind of raised on the idea of Christianity. And when I turned 17, 18, I started to kind of break away from that, just because I necessarily didn't believe in the same things that my parents did. So it changed for me. And yeah, religion should totally be included in the things that shouldn't be discriminated against, or people should be able to choose those beliefs freely without having any repercussions.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that will take us to talk about what happened 4 years ago in Quebec, in the mosque in Quebec City, and now it's going on again with London, Ontario. And living in Alberta, you have heard a lot, I'm assuming, about what's going on in the street with Muslims girls and Muslims boys in the street or in the school getting even bullied just because they are Muslims. So how does that make you feel? Like what the first you heard about London, Ontario, and what happened? How did you feel about that?
I was angry, because it's not the way I personally look at people is, if you're a nice person, then I'm going to treat you nice. If you're a disrespectful, rude person, you're going to get treat people the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. And that comes with the same thing with racism. I'm not here to discriminate another person just because they have they're wearing a hijab, or they have anything regarding their religion they have to wear every day. I'm not. It does annoy me, and it angers me very much, just because it's almost like looking at someone and saying, "Hey, use your head." Like that's another human being that is probably in the same exact situation, if not a little bit different than you. And just because they have to wear something on their head every day, you think that they can't live here. And I personally think that those people should be here. And I personally think.
Well, thank you.
Don't you think that the issue with religion specifically, though, comes from the things behind the beliefs? So, for example, with race and sexuality and things like that, it's very clear cut. It's an issue of what you see. People see color. People know what your orientation is. They see your gender. But with religion, it goes far beyond what you wear. It goes to what you actually believe. So I feel like the issue with religion, from the situation of those who are, like, for example, discriminatory to specific religions, is what they perceive the other group to feel about them. So I think it's kind of a retaliation to something that doesn't exist.
Totally, because it's like the age-old saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover."
Yeah,
and that's exactly what racism is: looking at someone, judging them strictly off of what you see. Because, like, for me, like I've worked everywhere that I've worked in my life. I've worked with all people from Canada, white people, not a very diverse group. And I got this job here, and half my staff is either Arab or Muslim, and they're the nicest people I've ever met in my whole life. Like, I've never had a coworker just decide to bring me an entire meal, a day's worth of food, just because they wanted me to try it. It's
things like
people
that
have to start getting to know people before they start judging them.
Well, by the way, that's culture, Logan. That's culture. We cannot eat by ourselves. I told you, it's in our DNA. We have to invite people.
And I think that is one of the best things ever, because that is not like a regular practice for people in Canada. I mean, it's very almost like our culture here seems at least a lot more selfish than your guys's. And I don't know, like I feel like we can learn a thing or two.
Do you feel like what do you think the role of youth in this whole conversation should be?
Breaking the curve and changing direction. Like I said before, you got to break the mold, and you got to get out of what your parents are teaching you. You've got to, and at least in the negative sense, if your parents are teaching you good things, leave that. But if they're teaching you to be racist and disrespectful towards other people, just on based how they look and what you see, change that, because the youth is how it is with economics. The youth is the future of our job force or our workforce. It's the same thing with racism. They're the future of having a more peaceful earth and having a more connected, collective community, other than just having groups of people.
Do you feel like it's getting better?
Yeah, in a sense. I mean, there's always going to be bad apples. There's always going to be that one person who doesn't want to go with what everyone else is doing, and they're going to have that chip on their shoulder and be that negative vibe, negative energy. And I mean, it's like I say, water off a duck's back. It's almost got to go to the fact of if it's getting to the point where people are accepting it and cultures are kind of intertwining and, I don't know, becoming a more solid group, one entity instead of split off, I think it's a lot better.
But what do you think? Go ahead, Anna.
No, you can complete what you're saying. I can do that after that. After, yeah, sure.
What do you think? People always have this focus on not blaming the victim. But what do you think the victim's role in not being the victim is? Do you think they have a role? Do you think they should sit back and just ride the wave out, or does the victim have a role in this?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, like if someone has been like discriminated against, or someone does come up to you and say something terrible, speak out about it. Like, at least tell someone, because keeping those kind of things to yourself, it only destroys a person. Like, it goes the same way with everything else. But it's the fact. It definitely shouldn't be kept in a jar and kept to the side. It should definitely be spoken out about. But I feel that some things, not all things, that have happened in the past couple years have been blown more out of proportion than they should have. And when that happens, more negative comes from good. Mm-hmm. Like, in an example, let's say, like, when what happened with George Floyd about a year ago here, where that all happened and it sparked a very large Black Lives Matter movement. I was all for it. Like, awesome. Like my whole thing, destroy racism. I don't like racism. But when I started to see that businesses, like mom and pop shops, like local businesses, were starting to be destroyed, and the streets were being destroyed, and everyone was protesting, but it turned into rioting. That's when it goes too far, is when it gets to the point that you're destroying other people that aren't even involved in it, other people's things that aren't even involved in the situation. That's when it gets wrong. But if it was a peaceful protest, just people walking down the street, like all holding up signs, chanting together, I'm all for that. But as soon as freedom of speech starts interfering with someone else's freedom of speech, then it's bad. But until that point, I'm all for it.
Speaking of which, I'm sorry, Alba, I'm going to take this kind of segue into it.
You do it. Yeah, you do it.
Do you think there's a situation where rioting could be valid? For example, a minority could be oppressed to such a length and such a long time where the only way to get your attention, the only way to get cameras pointed at your cause, is to hit them where it hurts. Do you think that could be justifiable?
To an extent, definitely. I mean, I'm all about pushing the envelope. So, like, like I said before, like, if that situation was like going in and trying to hit the things that are, I guess what I want to say here is, when it's at a big enough scale with a big enough group, like let's say the government stopped, like just took away all of your rights, then at that moment, right, go crazy, like go berserk. But I believe it's got to be, for rioting to be a thing and destroying things to be justifiable, it's got to be more serious than not. Because rioting brings in people and things that shouldn't be brought into the situation. Like if it was mom and pa's little diner that serves that a bunch of people love, and no one's ever had a problem with it. They're super nice people that own it, and then during the riots it gets destroyed. Like that's where I'm like, okay, then you've taken it too far now, because you're bringing in someone and something that has nothing to do with it.
All right. So, Ada, what was your question?
Well, Logan, after talking about Islamophobia and about all the racism that we were talking about, do you think Canadians are afraid of Muslims, afraid of seeing a hijabi girl in the street, afraid of seeing people gathering in a mosque and praying together? Do you think that's what's going on? Is there some people in this country really afraid of Muslims?
I believe there's a very, very small group of people that are actually afraid. Hearing you say that kind of makes me like want to chuckle, because I'm going to be 100% real. The first time I saw Ola, I was like, wow, she looks like a nice girl. I didn't think, oh my, I'm horrified and I'm scared like that. it's kind of just like, yeah, whoever has that mentality they just have a screw loose. That's.
Well, Logan, talking about that, I have a coworker. I was working with somebody, and I have a coworker. She's like, she told her mom that she working with a Muslim, a hijabi girl. Guess what she said to her? Be careful. Maybe somebody will come and bump the place. Yeah.
I see, and
Right?
it's things like
Different
that
people.
that I personally I don't understand where they come from, where the idea of that comes from. Like, you guys are just the same as me, except you're from 6,000 miles that way. Like, it's the same thing as if you looked at me, a white boy, and said, and let's say I came to work one day wearing a backpack, you could say to me, oh, he's going to shoot up the store, because most school shootings are done by white kids. But it's just because a certain act is done by a certain group of people more than others doesn't mean that every single person is going to be that way. It's like going into a school and seeing one kid bully another kid and thinking everyone in the school is a bully. It's purely based off the fact that I think, like, if it's racially motivated, like if white guy A was talking to Muslim A, and white guy A said, "Go back to your country," or "You're like, I'm scared you're gonna bomb me." That's not coming from his actual fear that you're gonna come into his store and blow up his store. It's coming from the fear that it's probably coming from some other fear of maybe you're outperforming him at work. Maybe you're way more valuable to the company than they are. Maybe they're jealous for whatever reason. But there's no legit. You can't give me an actual legit. Like, no one could come give me a legitimate reason that I'm gonna be afraid to come to work because someone's gonna blow up my store just from where they're from. I think that's absolutely stupid.
Well, talking about that and going back to our conversation this morning, you said you had a little bit of concern when you heard that tons of refugees and immigrants will come to Canada. So
Totally.
would you talk about that a little bit too?
100%. Yeah, it wasn't like I was like, oh no, they're gonna come and blow up my store. It's not that. It was me. I was like, because at that point in my life, I was looking for a job and I couldn't find one. So the only thing I thought of was, damn, I have more competition now. That was the only thing. And like I said to Ola this morning when we had a conversation, I said it was like, what, 400,000 people from Syria came over in that big surge of people. It was some number like that. Canada's population is upward, or like Alberta's let's just say Calgary and Edmonton, for example. There's like 1 million people in each of those cities. So that's 2 million people already in 2 cities compared to 400,000 people. Edmonton and Calgary are doubling that number more than already. Red Deer's only got 100,000 people. We're 10% of the size of that. We maybe got like 2,000 new people in Red Deer. That's a fraction of the amount of people that I'd be competing at any given job for. It's like people moving to the U.S. The U.S. is like, hey, come move here, come live here. It's awesome. And then they get a bunch of people from a bunch of different countries that have white skin, and they're completely fine with it because they have white skin. But as soon as someone comes over with brown skin, it's a problem. And they say it's because of your country. And no, it's just racism. It's the people who are letting people in. That's kind of the problem. It's, if you're gonna let one person in, let the other in. Because what's the difference between them? Like Germany, like let's say someone came from Germany. Germany is predominantly white people. And let's say someone came from like Gaza, like a refugee came over from Gaza, and it was one guy. And let's say the guy from Germany was an ex-convict. He went to prison, and let's say the guy that came from Gaza, he was a doctor. I guarantee that guy from Gaza is going to be racially profiled throughout his entire trip over here compared to the guy that was in Germany, just because of their skin color. And that's my problem with it, is because why is the guy that was an ex-convict going to be naturally or stereotypically treated better because of his skin color than the guy coming from Gaza? And that's what I don't get. It's not a problem letting people into the country. It's as soon as it becomes a racial matter, then it's a problem. Like there was during World War II, I don't know how many people came over to Canada from all over the world, and no one really had a problem with it because Canada was the safe space, and Canada still is that safe space for all countries across the world. Canada is a very safe country, and I don't know why we can't make you guys feel safe the same way that we made everyone from Germany feel safe 60 years ago. It doesn't make sense to me, because we can do it with one group of people and we can't do it with another just because of skin color. It makes your head tilt a little bit. It's weird.
Well, you always hear about these. For example, if you tune into far-right news stations, you're going to hear them say that all these people coming in are going to change the cultural identity of the place. They're going to change the way the country votes. They're going to change the way the country looks. They're going to change the way everything works. And they don't feel like they can exist in a place that doesn't represent them. What would you say to that?
That's not really if someone actually said that to me, I'd look at it and say it's not a valid argument, because so many cultures across the world over the past thousands of years have taken bits and pieces from each other's cultures. Like back after the Edo period in Japan, and when America started making their way all over there after America was founded, and then they went over into Asia to start trading and everything like that. The Chinese people in Asia there, they westernized a lot, and that term was used with me in school all the time, was westernization. And why can't it go both ways? Why can't China take some of our culturalistic ideas and put it into their culture, and us take some of their cultural ideas and take it into our culture? Like what's an example? I'm trying to think. I can't think of one. But yeah, it's I don't know why it can't go both ways. Why can't we take some things from it does go both ways, but now in today's day and age, it won't go both ways. Like, I would love for my mother to cook the amount of food that you guys eat in a day. Like, it's nuts. I'd be 400 pounds. I don't know how you guys do it. You guys are awesome. It's crazy. But like that's what I don't get, is because so many other cultures across the world take things from like Canada and America and like English culture because it works, and we take things from other cultures, but we just say it's our culture. It's just us. We made it, but we didn't make it, and that's what I don't get, is because if it can go one way, why can't it go both?
And what is the one word you say about the food?
Mumtaz.
Mumtaz.
I'm slowly starting to try and learn a little bit of Arabic.
Well, what do you think the role of the media should be in all of this?
Taking an unbiased opinion, not giving either side the leg up. For media, I believe it's got to be very unbiased, because if it's towards one side, then that other side is going to come fighting to try and make their point. So it's like in the middle. But if media is just being unbiased and fair the whole way through, then it's going to even out both sides, because then both sides don't necessarily have a point to argue about. They have the situation they're talking about, but they can't bash a news station for talking about one side more instead of the other. if media is unbiased, then it gives everyone a fair chance, or as much of a fair chance as they can get.
Well, we have a comment here from Ragad. He says these types of ideas can be contributed through social media, not just from within a household. Fear usually stems from the unknown, when individuals have little information regarding something that then they think they have the right to display hate. What would you say to that?
Fear does stem from the unknown, but growth also stems from the unknown. So like you're never gonna. I was always told growing up, you're never gonna grow as a person if you're comfortable. So everyone that, like, all these people that actually have a problem with other cultures, they're staying comfortable, and they're staying in their little bubble because they know that their little bubble is safe, and they don't want to branch out and allow new things in, and to be in those uncomfortable situations of, let's say, all I ever knew was white people. I had never met a colored person in my life, and I end up meeting Ola, and I don't talk to her, I don't look at her, I just instantly think, no, that I haven't given her a chance, I haven't been fair. But then I talked to Ola one day, and she's the nicest person in the freaking world. Like, I totally think that being uncomfortable and being in those states of unknown should less be fear and be more excitement to grow. Because it, like, I don't know. And I totally get where he's coming from when the idea is through social media and not just a household. I was just saying household as in fact of, that's kind of where I was raised to always accept people and never judge a book by its cover, always give someone a chance. And social media definitely needs to start portraying more things like that than being on one side. Like, a good example of this is the conflict between Israel and Gaza, because like it's two sides in the same boat, but the media was choosing one side. Like, they were either reporting the goods about Israel and the bads about Gaza, or the goods about Gaza and the bads about Israel, but they weren't doing both the bad, or what both sides were doing that were bad and what both sides were doing that were good. They were just choosing one side to go, and it made this huge split. Just choosing one side, and it still is a problem, because for things to work and to be changed for the better, they need to be connected and work together. It's like two people trying to build a house and they never say a word to each other. Then the house comes out freaking sideways like this and no roof, because there's no communication, there's no camaraderie, there's no connectivity.
Well, do you think that the media should be held accountable to a certain body, for example, about portraying things unbiasedly, or is that too much of an overreach of government powers?
To be honest, the government can start reaching in those places rather than reaching in others. I believe that, let's say, like, CNN starts being really biased towards one group of people, then yeah, they should be held accountable for what they're saying, because if they have a bunch of millions of people that watch their show every day, and that's where they get their news of the world from, and it's only about one side, then it's like I said with coming from a household. It's people, because after you're 18, the news starts to become kind of your parents on telling you what's going on in the world. So it's breaking that mold too, and not believing every piece of mainstream media that you see. And definitely mainstream media should be held accountable for being biased towards certain groups of people. I mean, it's just unfair to the other group. And if someone's going to cover it and someone's going to make a story on it, then it's got to be fair to both sides, in my opinion, or else it's just going to create more problems.
Ola, do you have a question?
I think Hasna has this question for you, Logan.
Oh yeah, I do.
For sure.
So, do you think that the Muslims should be protected to protect their religion?
That they should be protected and to protect their religion?
Under the law of Canada, do you think they should be protect to practice their religion?
The law of Canada.
100%. Totally. In the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it says bare minimum. It says you have the right and you should have the freedom to practice whatever religion and do whatever in that sense, do whatever you want, as long as it's not hurting someone else's religion, and as long as you're not trying to overtake, like let's say I'm a Christian and I came up to one of you guys and I started trying to jam the idea of Christianity down your throat. It's got to be, you've got to respect other people's opinions while being able to choose your own. And as long as no one's like butting heads about what they believe in, go ahead. Like if as long as someone doesn't look at me and say, hey, I don't like you because you believe in God or something like that, and that person needs to go back and read the rules of Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In that, it says you are allowed through any circumstance other than hurting someone else's religion or hurting someone else's beliefs to believe whatever you want. If you're not doing those two things, you can feel free to believe whatever you want to believe in.
Well, that will take me to my last question for you, which I know already the answer, but I want you to mention it. If that happened in front of your eye, if somebody was showing hate to a Muslim girl or a Muslim boy or like a color boy or a girl, what you would say about it? What would you do? I know I saw that in front of my eyes, but I want you to explain it.
I'm actually going to use that situation.
Exactly, you can.
I'm going to use that as an example here. Yeah, you came up to me that one day after that customer was rude and told you to go back to where he came from just because you had to ask him to repeat what he had to say. And you came up to me after he said it and asked me a completely different question about his purchase and
exactly.
What he was doing.
I want to check up with you.
Didn't even bring up the situation. I didn't hear about it until after the guy had left the store. But my blood was boiling to hear. I would have, if I was there and I heard him say it, I probably would have been 10 times more disrespectful to the man than he was to you. Just for the pure fact of you don't do that to people. And people who treat people with disrespect deserve to be treated with 10 times more disrespect, to be taught a lesson. To be frank, it was probably the most angry I've been in a good while, but it was the way that you handled the situation that kept me from going out and beating the crap out of the guy. Because you didn't bat an eye, you didn't yell at him, you didn't get angry at him. You finished his purchase, you finished the order. He went on his way all angry and unsatisfied, and you were fine. And that was my favorite thing, was that if you were good, I'm good.
So I told you I don't take things personally about it. I don't really listen to that. I'm not gonna be like punching him in the face or do words, say the same that he said to me. I'm not gonna do that. I told him that I understand English. Yes, I do have a little bit of accent, but this is me. I'm not gonna change in 1 minute. I told him that, and then he left. That's it. I want to tell you the situation just because that's happened. That's really happened in the store.
But you waited. What I liked is that you didn't like, because if you had told me in that moment that just the way that I am as a person, me and that guy would have had a problem. We definitely would have had a problem. But with the way you handled it and the way that how you felt about it, it was inspiring in a sense, because a lot of people should think the way that you think, because it's not wrong for you to be in this country. It's not wrong for you to wear a hijab every day. It is not wrong for you guys to follow the religion that you follow. I believe no one should have a problem with it. And to the people that do have a problem with it, come talk to me about it and see what happens.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really wanna ask you a last comment from you, like what you're gonna say for the last thing today.
Last thing is, stay true to yourself. Don't let the bad 10 seconds of your day ruin the whole 24 hours, because life is very short and we've got to live it while we can.
Well, I also have a final thing to tell you. Do you have any specific question you'd like to ask any of us? Be it about whatever kind of subject you want.
What is your guys' initial reaction to being discriminated against? If I could ask Ola first.
Okay, So you saw what I did, but seeing that happening and all that hate coming from that 20 years old makes me feels like, is it I am not really safe in here? What's going on? I came to Canada for a pro life. I came because of the war, because I wasn't safe in my country. So am I not safe here again? My heart was beating for that guy who's like that small boy who was alive, and the whole family they are dead now, but they passed away. I thinking about that, it's like, why you do that? Why?
Exactly.
As a human, what happened to your mind saying, I decided I want to kill these people? Why?
Yeah.
Just because they are believe in a different religion than you do, or they are having a hijab on their head. The hijab doesn't make me, like, I told that to one of my friend one time. That hijab doesn't make me stupid. Doesn't covering my head, it doesn't mean that I am uneducated, right?
This is the same thing.
It's just personal thing. I choose it. This is my religion. I believe in it. I am happy. I'm so happy with it. I have been kind to you. Treat me the same way. Exactly as you said. So that's happened to me one time, Logan. I told you I was in a downtown walking, and a guy came to me. A guy came to me, and he was drunk. And he's like, go back to your country. The way I handled the situation, it was like, well, I will. When do you want me to do it? He's like, tomorrow. I told him, okay, I'll do it. He said today. I told him, okay, can I do it tomorrow? Because my country is way far from here. And he said, okay. I met him the other day. I told you about it.
Yeah.
And he asked me for a change, and I gave him. And then I told him, this is change is from the girl you want yesterday to go back to her country. And he's like, oh no, please don't go back to your country. I love you. I want you to stay there. So we need to know what kind of person that we're talking to know what we can answer, right? I met an educated person. He's like, why you wearing this hijab and you are in Canada? He's talking to me about that. And I feel that we can have a conversation. We did. He's now my best friend. He said to me one word I'll never forget in my life. He's like, you changed my mind, and for life in general, not just about Muslims. So
and honestly, you changed my mind too, because like I personally, I don't really know many more Muslim people than the people I work with now, and the people I work with now are, like I said, some of the nicest, best people I've ever met.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you're saying that to me.
Well, what about you, Hasna? How did you feel towards the situation of being discriminated against?
Oh, well, that's happened to me once, but I reported to the police. So I will report it to the police if that happened to me again. Or maybe I will ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you want to do. No one can tell you what to do. You are your own person. You are 100% your own person. You make your own decisions. You decide what you want to eat today, and you decide what you want to do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Personally,
we're going to you to ask about your opinion about it.
For me personally, the way I would deal with it is that I would fall back on why I'm being discriminated against, and it would make me learn more about what I actually believe.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that you can totally, if you can believe something, but then you have to understand it to be able to defend it.
Mhm.
So if someone asks me, why do you believe such a thing, and I don't have an answer, then that's my problem. So it kind of makes me go back in and see what my actual religion says. What do things like that, do the criticisms they have towards my religion are they valid criticisms?
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of always reflect on how true my belief is.
Yeah.
And I always make sure to keep that in check. Every once in a while, I'd have to go back in and kind of make sure that I know what I believe and make sure that I still believe it, just to make sure that I'm not in an echo chamber.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's awesome. That's awesome to hear, because constantly reassuring yourself on the situation is awesome, and something that a lot of people need to do. And I think honestly, people need to start learning about other cultures and other religions and what they actually believe in, because then it helps to understand. Because like me, I had no idea about anything about your guys' culture or religion. No clue. It is one of the coolest religions I've ever read about, and I read about a good few of them. I've read a couple books on mythology and religion and how they stem together, and learning about your guys' religion has been one of the most fun ones. And for the pure fact of I love your guys' sense of community and camaraderie, and the idea of doing things together and being together and helping each other, and not being in a place of you kind of got to fend for yourself and your problems are yours, and kind of how it is here. And it's very nice to have a space where I can come to work and know that if I'm having a bad day, I can go and talk to any one of my coworkers, and I know that they're going to sit there and listen because they care. And that's just what you guys believe in. And that's awesome.
Well, how would you feel if you were discriminated against? Now, let's just turn the tables around.
I've had one situation where I've been slightly discriminated against. I was working in a clothing store, and I asked a lady how if she needed any help or anything, and she turned around and said to me, "I don't need your help, white boy." And I was like, I kind of just sat there for a second, and the way I lead my life is I'm a very aggressive. I'm very aggressive. I'm very loud. I'm not shy at all. And I looked at her, and I kind of just stared at her for a second, and I was like, "Really? Just because my skin is the way it is you don't want my help?" And I said, "All right." And I went and I grabbed my I had an African employee working with me, and I went and I grabbed her, and I was like, "Here you go, ma'am. Here's someone that I'm guessing you would like help from, and not me. Have a great day." And I walked away, and I just kind of went on with my day. I was like, "Cool, it happened. Water up." I mean, that's the only situation I've ever slightly even come close to what you guys went through. But I guess if I was making up a situation, I would be scared. I would ask those questions. Am I safe here? Because obviously that person that's saying it to me has some malice behind that comment, has some hate behind that comment. Otherwise they wouldn't be saying it at all. And I totally get where you guys are coming from, saying that, am I safe here, or are my beliefs what I truly believe in, and am I educated? And yeah, I your guys' points are kind of the same points that I would have. And I feel like if you asked any other person that is discriminated towards other cultures, if they were discriminated against, they would probably have the same reaction. And I don't know why, thinking like, if they thought that they could have the same reaction, I don't know why they can't just stop discriminating, because obviously they don't want to be scared, and they don't want to be afraid to be in the country that they're in. So why are they making you guys afraid to be in the country that you're in, or being afraid of the situation that you're in? Doesn't make sense to me.
Do you feel that you being part of the kind of default group gives you some kind of advantage that others don't have to deal with?
Being a white guy is very easy. Being a white guy is, I don't have people coming up to me every day and asking me, like, I'm not asked why I wear a hat every day. I bet you, Ola, you've probably been asked why you wear your hijab in a respectful and disrespectful way. And like, I don't have to deal with the same type of, I don't know, questions that people give. Like, my first question that I get every day is how's your day? And I say good. But if Ola's meeting a new person, or Haz's meeting a new person, and they just see them and say, and the first thing they say to them is, why are you wearing a hijab? That can be taken a very wrong way to what someone could be portraying. But also, it's not the question you lead off with. It's like I said before, golden rule: treat people how you wanted to be treated, and that goes between cultures too.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for all your time. I know you are at work.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you being here and all the lovely comments that you have made about me today. I will see you tomorrow, maybe, or Friday.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm here tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Perfect. Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great night. Thank you so much again.
See ya.
See you.
All right. So
alright. So now نحن هلا بنحسن نرجع نحكي عربي مع بعضنا وناخذ الكونفرسيشن.
okay.
بها عندك تعليق عن الموضوع؟ أنا حابة أسمع تعليقك. شو رأيك
بالنسبة لي أنا شفت إنه يعني شيء طبيعي إنه حدا يكون إنه في ناس بهاي العقلية، ولكن أنا برضو شايف إنه برضو شيء طبيعي إنه يكون في ناس بالعقلية المخالفة تماماً. لأنه أنا بحس إنه لما حدا جديد يدخل، أولاً الناس يا بتحس بفضول أو بخوف. فأنا بشوف إنه الاثنين منطقي، الشعورين منطقيين.
تماماً. هو أصلاً من المنطقي أنت إنه إذا حتى لو فايت على موضوع جديد، بغض النظر أنت إذا رايح على بلد جديدة، من المنطقي إنه تكون في عندك خوف. فكيف إذا أنت رايح على بلد جديد والناس ما بتعرف مين أنت، نيو كلتشر، ثقافة جديدة، دين جديد، ناس جداد، حتى لغة جديدة، كل شيء جديد، فمن الطبيعي إنه هن يكون عندهم خوف ونحن بنفس الوقت. فأنا حبيت يكون لوغان معانا بالذات، لأنه لوغان عنده يعني فعلا هو حكى لي الشيء اللي حكاه هلا إحنا كنا في معانا، يعني أنا وياه كان في بيناتنا conversation من قبل عن الموضوع، وحكى نفس الشيء، إنه هو عن جد ما كان بيعرف، ما كان عنده أي رفقات من خارج مثل ما قال هو اللي بسميهم الوايت بيبل، ما عنده حدا من خارج ديانته من خارج ثقافته، وإجا اشتغل معانا في المكان اللي إحنا بنشتغل فيه، وشاف إنه إحنا أشخاص طبيعيين عاديين مثلنا مثله، مسالمين، بنجي الصبح على الشغل بنضحك، نطلع من الصبح من تعبان، نطلع من الشغل تعبانين مثلنا مثله تماماً. فمثل ما أنت سمعته قال إنه هو كمان عم يتعلم من ثقافاتنا ومن الأشياء اللي إحنا عم نجيبها للستور. مو بس صاير معانا، مو نحن بس كووركرز، نحن هلا حاليا عم نصير مثل عيلة مع بعض بنفس هذا المكان، من مختلف الديانات، من مختلف الأجناس، من مختلف البلدان اللي إحنا جايين منها.
وحسنا أنت إيش رأيك باللي سمعتي منه؟ هل كان عندك تعليقات على كلامه؟
بالعكس، يعني أنا مثل ما قلت إنه خالطنا كثير كندي، وفعلا يعني ما شاء الله عليه، يعني تفكيره غير جريء، يعني ما كان مثل بعض الكنديين عنصري أو تفكيره محدود أو ما بعرف إيش، يعني كان كثير كلامه سليم كما نقول.
حسنا أنا بعرف إنه صار معاكي موقف، حتى لو تعرضتي لموقف بالطريقة اللفظية نوعا ما خلينا نسميها، بس صار معاكي موقف بالشارع وخبرتي عن هذا الشيء اللي صار معاكي للبوليس، عملتي للشرطة، عملتي فتحتي بحث عن الموضوع، فممكن تخبرينا شو صار معاكي، كيف صار الموقف، شو حسيتي لما صار الموقف؟
بسبتمبر 2020 عندي ميتينج مع أنستي فأنا كنت عم بستخدم الباص وعن بدي أقطع الشارع. كان في واحد واقف عندي الإشارة، فأنا كنت عم بمشي راح أوقف يعني جنبه أو وراه مشان أقطع الإشارة معه. فهو عن شافني صرت أقرب عليه، وصار يبسب وصار يحكي كلام بذيء. فأنا صراحة يعني بدون اهتمام أو أي شيء، يعني صرت كملت مشي بدي أوقف مشان أقطع الشارع. فهو صار يعيط أكتر ويسب أكتر، وحتى يعني صار يبزق أو يتف يعني علي. فالحمد لله أنا كنت لابسة كمامتي وفتحت الإشارة، فخليته هو يروح أول شيء، وبعدين كملت طريقي. رحت أنا لعند عشان أشوفه، حكيت له الموقف وصرت أبكي صراحة. يعني هاي أول مرة بصير معي هيك موقف. فعند حكيت لها الموقف قالت لي إنه يعني هذا اعتداء، فلازم إنه نخبر الشرطة على هذا الشيء. ونحن دقينا على الشرطة وخبرناهم. والله تقريبا شي 5 دقايق هيك شيء اجت الشرطة لعنا على الكافيتيريا، وحكيت لهم على الموقف وشرحت لهم كيف كان شكل الرجل. يعني هو كان بالثلاثينات عمره تقريبا، هو كمان كان وايت، ويعني وين راح وين اجى، ويعني من اي اتجاه مشي بالشارع. وعطوني رقم ملف كمان، وعطوني رقم الشرطي اللي راح يستلم لي. قال لي نحن هلا انه راح نبحث عليه ونشوف اذا لقيناه نحن راح نسحلك عنا على المخفر او على قسم الشرطه من شان انه تتاكد هويته يعني. قلت لهم تمام. بعدين انا اخذته ورجعت على البيت. تم يعني تقريبا شغله اسبوع، رجعوا اتصلوا علي الشرطه واعتذروا مني والله، وقالوا لي انه نحن ما لقينا هذا الرجل، وانه يعني مواصل يعني ما بحثنا ما لقيناه، ونحن راح نعتذر منك وراح نسكر الملف. فانا هون صراحه يعني انه صحيح مثلا الريبورت ما جاب نتيجه، بس انا كثير انه حسيت بالامان، حسيت انه بالفرحه انه هذا الشيء يعني ولو انه مثلا يعني ما جاب نتيجه، بس حسيت انه بالامان. يعني مع هيك عند نشرت هذا الحكي صار معي على ماي انستغرام، صار معهم هالموقف كلياتهم انه يعني حكوا لي مثلا نحن كمان تعرضنا للعنصريه، نحن صار معنا هيك، صاروا يحكوا لي المواقف يلي تعرضوا لها. فانا استغربت انه مثلا ليش ما حدا حكى. انا بريد بالعكس انه كلياتنا نحكي مثلا نشارك رفقاتي كثير كلياتهم حكوا لي وقالوا لي انه صار معنا هذا الشيء، انه الموقف اللي صار معي. بس بعد ما انه سمعت انه رفقاتي كلهم صار معهم هذا الشيء، وانه مثلا جاهلي او احكي معه في طريقه انه لبقه، او انه يعني انه مثل ما تصرفت ولا تصرفي يعني في هالشغلات. فهلا صرت اجرأ، هلا صرت يعني اعرف ادبر اموري اكثر. مثلا اذا بهذا الموقف مره ثانيه رح اعرف اتصرف اكثر. يعني اولا انه اول ما صار معي هالموقف هذا صرت ابكي، انه خفت منه. فوق ما اكون مثلا فوق ما يكون معي الحق انا انه ادافع عن نفسي او مثلا يعني اوقف بوشه، لا انه صرت ابكي وصرت ابين ضعيفه قدامه. فجميع البنات او هيك موقف انه اللي صار معه يشارك مشاعره، يشارك كل شيء بالتفصيل اللي صار معه. بنحسن نتعلم منه، او مثلا بنحسن كمان انه نعلمه في المرات الجايه اذا صار معه هذا الموقف، نحسن انه نقول له ساوي هيك مثلا اعمل هيك او حتى انه وقف بوشه، انه مثلا ليش انت هيك عم تحكي معي، مثل ما عملت علا. يعني مثلا احكي معه خذ وعطي مثل ما بنقول. فيعني بتمنى من جميع البنات او حي الله حدا بصير معه موقف يحكي ويشارك موقفه اللي صار معه، ويشارك انه ايش هو ساوى ضد هذا الشخص يعني. فهيك والله. بس
اكيد حاسه هو احيانا كمان الشغله بترجع للموقف، ترجع للشخص، ترجع في مواقف ممكن حتى انا او انت اللي عنا هاي القوه ممكن ما نقدر نحكي، بالذات اذا كان مثلا في بايده حتى ولو مجرد سلاح صغير. ممكن هذا السلاح الصغير يسبب لنا خوف بطريقه ما وما نقدر نحكي. يعني حتى انه نعبر عن مشاعرنا تجاه هذا الموضوع ما حنقدر. يمكن حتى بكي ما حتحسن تبكي بهذا الموقف. ف يعني انا ما بعرف بها انت شو عندك ردة فعل عن هذا الموضوع كأنت. يعني نحن محجبات، فنحن باينين انه نحن مسلمين، باينين انه نحن جايين من هاي الديانه. بس انت مثلا هل انت تعرضت لهذا الموقف من قبل؟ هل صار معك هيك؟ او اذا صار معك شو تتصرف؟
بالنسبة لي أنا ما بصير معي كتير أشياء زي هيك، برضو لأنه أنا مش مبين علي إشي. ولكن لو صار معي أنا most likely راح يعني أتجاهل هاي الأشياء. ولكن إذا صح لي فرصة إنه أفهم اللي قدامي أو إنه أعمل إشي، ممكن أعمل إشي، ولكن ما بصير معي كفاية عشان أقدر إني أعرف كيف أتصرف.
انا قلت لك بقى، صارت معي الموقف، صار معي مرتين. مره مع شخص انا حسيت من طريقه كلامه انه هو شخص غير مستوعب الكلام اصلا. هو يعني شربان لحد ما راح يقدر، ما حيتذكر مين انا ولا انا شو عملت. فما قدرت اتعامل معه بطريقه انه انا والله بدي فهمه او بدي اطلع نتيجه من وراه، ما قدرت. بس مره تانية لما كنت طالعه من شغلي وواقفه وحسيت الشخص عم يسأل سؤال موجه تماما يعني لإلي وعرفان شو عم يسأل، لا بالعكس تماما، حكيت وشاركته وجهة نظري. حكيت له انه انا مثله، بشتغل بهاي البلد، بدفع تاكسز مثلك، عم بدرس بهاي البلد، عم بحكي اللغة اللي انت بتحكيها، يعني ما ناقصني شيء عنها غير اني بلبس هالحجاب. شو يعني هالحجاب عامل لك مشكلة؟ هيك قلت له بالحرف، قلت له does my hijab hurting your feelings؟ يعني حجابي عم يجرح مشاعرك لهالدرجه لحتى انت مقهور وعم تحاكيني بهالطريقه انه ارجعي على بلدك والبسي حجابك ببلدك؟ طب شو عرفك؟ ممكن انا اكون خلقت هون، ممكن تكون كندا هي البلد اللي انا خلقت وتربيت فيها وما بعرف غيرها. ونرجع لاصلك انت، هل انت عن جد كندي الاصل؟ يعني
صحيح.
هل انت كندا بلدك الاصليه، ولا انت كمان اهلك جدودك اجدادك هن كمان مهجرين؟ فلما اعطيته هاي الحجاج، لما اعطيته هاي الاسئله، انا ما قلت له شيء، انا اعطيته اسئله يفكر فيها. فكر انت، فكر، يعني الموضوع بدك تشغل عقلك، بدك تفكر، بدك تشوف انت وين رايح. فحسيت انه هو عم يتجاوب معي، ونحن هلا بنحكي مع بعض يعني بشكل تقريبا في كل مره، وكل ما انا اشوفه بالجامعه بنحكي سوا. وحكى لي بالحرف انه انت غيرتي نظرتي عن الحياه بشكل عام، مو بس عن المسلمين. اللي انا فكرت انه انتم جايين تاخذوا شغلنا، تقتلونا، ما بتحبونا هيك. فالستيريوتايب، الشيء النمطي اللي هن اخذينه عنا، هذا هو الغلط، واللي نحن حاليا عم نحاول انه نحارب هذا الفكر. ونحن مو ضد الاشخاص ولا ضد الناس، نحن ضد الفكر العنصري وضد الفكر اللي هو ضد الانسانيه. فانا هذا تعقيبي عن الموضوع. وانا لوجن عمل معي هذا الموقف لما اجى هذا الشخص وقال لي جو باك تو يور كونتري ونحن بالستور. ف وانا فعلا ما عملت اي شيء، يعني انا خلصت الشغل اللي بايدي وحاسبت له وهو طلع. وبعد ما هو طلع صار يعني انا حكيت له لوجن، لاني انا عرفانه انه رح يصير مشكله لو حكيت بوقتها. فانا تخطيت هاي المشكله، انه انا عرفانه ذاك الشخص ما انا عرفانه اصلا هو وين. فنحن بها يمكن نتعرض للموضوع اكثر شوي من ما
صحيح.
الشباب بيتعرضوا له، بحجة الحجاب، بحجة انه احنا مبينين انه احنا مسلمين.
في هون كومنت بدي أطلعها عن إشي صار مع واحدة من أخواتنا. بتقول صار معي موقف لفظي كمان من رجل كبير بالعمر، حكى لي أنت بكندا ليش لابسة الحجاب؟ حكيت له كندا بلد في ناس من جميع أنحاء العالم وفي مسلمين. حكى لي بس كندا ما بيلبسوا حجاب. رديت عليه وحكيت له أنت كندي وعندك دينك وأنا كندية مسلمة، وين المشكلة؟ طبعا الرجال ما عجبه كلامي وظل ماشي. إذا رجال كبير وعنصري شو راح يطلع من الشباب؟
بالعكس هديل، والله احيانا انا شخصيا بشوف انه الموضوع الشباب عم يتفهموا الموضوع بشكل اكبر من الكبار بالعمر، لانه الكبار بالعمر عندهم نمط حياه معين، عايشين بعدهم على الشيء القديم، اخذين فكرتهم وافكارهم من اشياء مبنيه على قاعده قديمه، وقاعده ممكن تكون هي الصوره النمطيه. القاعدة عندهم بتكون ما لها جديدة، ما عم يشوفوا شو عم يصير حواليهم، ما عم يسمعوا بالهيومن رايتس، ما عم يسمعوا انه لازم احنا نكون يعني يتعاملوا معنا بهذا البلد مثلنا مثل اي انسان تاني. انا من وجهة نظري عم شوف انه الشباب بشكل عام والمواقف من الشباب عم تكون الشباب عم يكونوا more nicer مثل ما بنقول معانا أكثر من الكبار بالسن.
إيش رأيك بالموقف حسنة؟ طبعا أنت صار معك موقف مشابه، هل برأيك إنه وضع الشباب أحسن من وضع الكبار؟
أعتقد بس أنا هلأ بشتغل بنورسينج هوم، وللصراحة هلأ في عنا مختلف الأعمار، يعني من 50 وأنت طالع. ففي هنيك مثل ما قلت عليه، يعني في حسب بيختلف. في مثلا كبار بالعمر بكونوا يعني مثل ما قلت إنه عقلهم منغلق، أو حسب يعني إنه حسب ما هن متربين وحسب ما هن متعودين. وفي منهم بالعكس يعني كتير 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 إنه لطيفين. يعني هل عندي هنيك اختيار صديق حرفيا بشوفني يوميا من شان يسلم علي بيزعل مني، فكل يوم كل يوم لازم أروح عليه وأسلم عليه. ويعني كتير هو لطيف لدرجة إنه يعني ما بعرف والله كيف أشرح لكم، بس إنه يعني هو كتير لطيف يعني. وحسب في كمان أحيانا إنه بواجه مثل ما قلت علا إنه من المغلقين إنه فيها يعني عنصرية من بعض الكبار، وفي بعض ما بكون في عندهم هالعنصرية جدا. فيعني حسب بيختلف حسب الشخص. هلا هو هذا الشخص انا هذا الختيار هو صديقي هو من بريطانيا، فدائما بيحكي لي انه مثلا عن المعاناه اللي كانوا بعانيها انه او العنصريه. يعني بيقول لي انا وايت، وقال لي يعني انا حسب العنصريه اللي شفتها بالثمانينات وبالسبعينات كيف كانوا مثلا البريطن بعاملوا البلاك بيبل. انا مشان بسبب هاي العنصريه جيت لهون على كندا وهاجرت بس مشان بدي اخلص من هاي العنصريه. قال لي ولسه ما زلت هلا هون في كندا، وانه بشوف مثلا كيف هلا الوايت بيبل بعاملوا البلاك او مسلم او حي الله حدا يعني. فكمان هو كله بيختلف من شخص لتاني، يعني كيف عقليه هذا الشخص او كيف هو متربي، فكله يعني بيختلف.
أنت شو رأيك؟ ما شاركنا رأيك بهذا الموضوع.
بالنسبة إلي أنا رأيي زي رأيك، إنه بحس إنه الشباب بيقدروا عندهم الاستعداد يتقبلوا أشياء جديدة أكتر، لأنه بالذات إذا طلعتي على تباعد الأجيال كيف بنحسب، بتلاقي إنه الأجيال قاعد بيقصر المسافة بينها، عمر الجيل عم بيقصر. فرضاً زمان كان عمر الجيل يكون 100 سنة، وبعدين مع التطور الحضاري صار يقصر ويقصر ويقصر. يعني فرضاً هلا الفرق بين جيلين ممكن يكون 10 سنوات. فأنا بحس إنه هاي السرعة هي تنعكس على تسارع بالأفكار العامة. فأنا بحس إنه الصغار رح يكونوا متقبلين للأشياء الجديدة والتجارب الجديدة أكثر من غيرهم. وطبعا هذا مش شيء يعني، هذا طبعا كلام عام، ولكن في كبار برضه كانوا عايشين بين مجتمع عدائي تجاه المهاجرين، ولكن هم كانوا من أعز أصدقاء المهاجرين. فترجع برضه زي ما لوغان كان بيحكي إنه ترجع لنشأة الشخص.
صحيح. وأصلا تعميم بهاء بيكون دائما من الجهل. في بكل بلد ناس منيحة وناس مثل ما بنقول نحن بالسوري بنقول عاطلة. فبكل بلد في ناس منيحة وناس ما يعني ما مو منيحة أو عندها أفكار سيئة براسها. فهو التعميم دائما بيجي من الجهل. نحن كمان ما لازم نعمم إنه والله كل الكنديين ما بيحبوا المسلمين أو كل الكنديين عندهم خوف من المسلمين. لا، نحن عايشين بهالبلد وعم نشوف كل يوم عم يصير معنا مواقف. في كتير ناس ممكن في كتير ناس يعني هن عم يمثلوا هاي الإنسانية. بفرجوك انت بتحس من طريقه تعاملهم معك انه هي تمثيل، عم يمثلوا الانسانيه عليك، عم يمثلوا الدايفرسيتي، عم يمثلوا التنوع. بس في ناس لا، عن جد لما تحكي معك بتحس انت بالطاقه اللي عندهم، بتحس انت قديش هن عن جد اشخاص كتير طيبين، بيحبوا الناس اللي حواليهم، بيعاملوا الناس على كانه هو انسان بغض النظر شو لابس او شو عامل. فنحن عايشين بهالبلد وعم نشوف هاي النماذج كل يوم بالجامعه، بالشغل، بالبيت، بالجيران حوالينا. يعني وين ما اذا تخطينا خطوه برات البيت، نحن جوات بيتنا مثل ما بقول بابا دائما بقول جمله انه نحن جوات بيتنا وكانه لساتنا ما طلعنا من سوريا. بس نطلع برات البيت بنصير نشوف المجتمع. ف بظن انه نهايه حلقتنا صارت قربت، الوقت داهمنا. بهاء
ايوه صحيح.
ونحن طبعا المحادثة كانت جدا رائعة، وأنا أتمنى نضل نحكي والله للصبح، بس لازم ننهي هون. إن شاء الله الحلقة اليوم تكون عجبت الجميع، ونتمنى مثل ما حكينا، مثل ما حكى لوغان don't judge the book from its cover، نحن كمان لازم ما نعمل جادج للكتاب من الغلاف تبعه، ودائما نشرح عن نفسنا ونعطي الصورة الحلوة عن حالنا وعن بلدنا وعن ديننا وعن ثقافتنا، وإن شاء الله نقدر نوصل رسالتنا بهاي البلد لحتى نقدر نعيش بهاي البلد بأمان وسلام، مثل ما نحن اجينا وحابين عن جد نعيش مع الكل بأمان وسلام. حسنة، عندك تعليق أخير أو بهاء إذا تحب؟
تفضلي حسنة.
شكرا كثير لاستضافتي معكم، ويعني ما بعرف بس شكرا كثير لكم.
نحن كمان كثير مبسوطين انك كنتي معنا اليوم.
بحب اني اشكر اعزائنا المشاهدين على متابعتهم. بحب اني اشكر علا وحسنة على وجودهم معنا. وعلا لو سمحتي وجهي شكر للوغان لما تشوفيه مرة ثانية
ان شاء الله،
على
ان شاء الله،
مداخلاته وعلى آرائه.
وشكرا لكل المتابعين، وشكرا على التعليقات الحلوة، وشكرا على المشاركة.
ونراكم في الحلقة القادمة
ان شاء الله.